If you've seen the viral trailer of Millie Bobby Brown's Nightmare on Elm Street and got super excited for the upcoming horror flick, well, sadly, it's fake. But on the bright side, or the dark side, whichever way you like it, what's not fake is the actual story of A Nightmare on Elm Street and the creepy origins of Freddy Krueger.
Come to Freddy.
A Nightmare on Elm Street is Wes Craven's panic-inducing horror flick that left tired teens haunted by the terror that is Freddy Krueger. Wes Craven shared details about where in the world he got the idea for a boogeyman who kills people in the night after reading an article in the LA Times about a family who had survived the killing fields in Cambodia. They made it safe and sound to the United States, but their young son was soon terrorized by horrible nightmares and was eventually found dead. A Nightmare on Elm Street follows 4 teenagers living on one street in Springwood, Ohio. A monstrous spirit of a child murderer invades and kills them in their dreams, and then they die in reality. The bladed leather-glove killer, Freddy Krueger, seeks revenge on the kids whose parents were responsible for his demise. As Wes Craven puts it, talking about the incident that inspired him, he told his parents he was afraid that if he slept, the thing chasing him would get him, so he tried to stay awake for days at a time. When he finally fell asleep, his parents thought this crisis was over. Then they heard screams in the middle of the night. By the time they got to him, he was dead. He died in the middle of a nightmare. Here was a youngster having a vision of a horror that everyone older was denying. That became the central line of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Screw your past.
With a little imagination, Wes Craven introduced a fictional horror element to bring the nightmares to life for the audiences, introducing a creepy gardener with weird fantasies about children, something that is sure to haunt parents and traumatize kids.
You are all my children now.
And one by one, Wes Craven used the same method to kill off his character. So to understand the true terror of this infamous flick, we'll have to dive deep into the horrific history of the place and time that inspired it. The killing fields are several sites in Cambodia where more than 1 million people were killed and buried by the Khmer Rouge regime of the Communist Party of Cambodia during its rule of the country from 1975 to 1979. The mass killings are regarded as part of a broad state-sponsored genocide. Analysis of 20,000 mass graves indicates at least 1,386,734 victims of execution buried deep beneath the soil in the fields. Estimates of the deaths resulting from the Khmer Rouge regime range from 1.7 to 2.5 million people. In 1979, Vietnam invaded and toppled the Khmer Rouge regime, ending the genocide. During their reign, the Khmer Rouge arrested and executed everyone suspected of connections with the country's former government, foreign governments, intellectuals, and professionals. Thai, Vietnamese, Chinese, Buddhist monks, and Cambodian Christians were the targets of persecution. Under the Khmer Rouge rule, a Cambodian double agent working for American and Cambodian special forces was stationed near the Cambodian and Lao borders. His name was Ban Chaun Sao, and he eventually was moved with his wife and children to Battambang Bang province. The Khmer Rouge began its systematic indoctrination of Cambodian citizens, and because Sao was sent to Phnom Penh shortly after the Khmer Rouge takeover, he was separated from his family. Along with millions of others, he and his in-laws were evacuated from Phnom Penh on foot and traveled by boat to the Tekio province, his birthplace. A former Buddhist monk saved Bon Chaun's life by giving him refuge in a Buddhist temple. In January of 1976, Sao succeeded in reaching the Thai border and eventually arrived at a refugee camp in Surin, Thailand. After searching for his wife and children for 2 years, he met a woman named San Boriem. They eventually married and found their way to Washington state as a part of a wave of refugees in the late 1970s. Similarly, in a way, all the parents in A Nightmare on Elm Street supposed they could simply commit murder and put their past behind, hiding everything from their children. Little did that work out for them. and neither would things work out for Sal. Now with the son, things were going well for the family until he started to have disturbing nightmares for no apparent reason. The child stayed awake for days at a time, worried that if he did fall into a slumber, the thing chasing him would get him. When he finally fell asleep, his parents thought the crisis had ended. Then they heard screams in the middle of the night, and by the time they got to the boy's bedside, he was dead. There are many other reports of people dying in their sleep in the late 1970s in America. There was even a medical condition coined Asian death syndrome, as most of the people affected by this phenomenon were of Southeast Asian descent. The victims would suddenly scream in their sleep and die shortly after. There isn't much knowledge of this phenomenon to this day. What could have caused this young boy and many others to perish for no apparent reason in the midst of their slumber? Could the negative energy brought over from his parents' time in Cambodia have created some dangerous entity that ended up taking their child's life? Or is there a medical reason behind this sleeping sickness? We may never know for sure. We might not have gotten a movie, but it's no less terrifying knowing the actual story. However, while Millie Bobby Brown's Nightmare on Elm Street film has been proven to be fake, this doesn't mean the long-running horror franchise has nothing in the works. In 2015, it was reported a remake of the original Wes Craven-directed film was in the works at Warner Bros. And New Line Cinema. The film would eventually fall into a state of development hell before the film rights to the franchise reverted to creator Wes Craven's estate in 2019. In November 2019, word was made public by Bloody Disgusting that the Craven estate was now looking for Nightmare on Elm Street pitches for potential movies or TV series. This prompted The Haunting of Hill House showrunner Mike Flanagan to voice his enthusiasm for the idea of pitching something Elm Street related. At the time, Flanagan, who is best known for his Netflix Stephen King adaptations, posted on X, saying, "Put me in, coach, I've got a pitch." Nothing further has come of Flanagan throwing his hat in the Elm Street ring. If another Nightmare on Elm Street were to be made, several cast members from across the film franchise have said they would be up for a return. When asked by Screen Rant at Mad Monster Party, Arizona in July 2023, Elm Street 2 actors Meryl Streep and Park Patton both said they would love to come back to the franchise, even if it was just in a cameo. Wait, that's not Meryl Streep, that's Kim Myers. Anyone else make that mistake? So yes, no Elm Street movie has been officially announced to be in the works, but there is active enthusiasm from both the fans and the rights holders for another film in this franchise. What do you think? Comment down in the section below and don't forget to like and subscribe.